Griggs interview, take one.
Sir, can you tell me your name and what you do?
My name is Daryl Griggs. My name in the studio, they either call me Sensei Griggs or Master Griggs, depending on which art I'm teaching at the time. And I teach karate, taekwondo for United Martial Arts Academy. And I have no idea what I'm supposed to say after that.
You're good. You're good. If I'm not mistaken, I was doing a little Facebook stalking, and I thought I saw owner of a few different things on your Facebook. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you do own some other stuff.
I do own a couple of other companies, yes.
Let's hear it.
So I own, I guess the easier way to tell you is I own the studio. I also own a medical education company, Human Health and Safety, where we go in and we do CPR first aid, things that are necessary as far as for hospital people to keep their certifications and whatnot, and then community outreach for organizations like the Scouts, Young Marines we do a lot of work with as well. And then, obviously the product line, which is first aid kits and things. I have Blue Hall Media, which is a media company, which is really funny because a lot of the things that I've worked within are because I couldn't find what I wanted, so I just created it, which is how I'm finding a lot of people do. So Blue Hall was because I didn't have the time to do the social media posting and attention that I needed to do to start getting my name out there. So I just created a company to help me with that. Let's see, Community One is another one that I have. I've literally been pushing it this year. I started a podcast with it as well, and it's just literally about community involvement. I've done a lot of work with American Cancer Society and Relay for Life, to be specific. Debbie, I love you. She's amazing. She taught me everything that I know. But what we found since the fires, since COVID, was that the valley itself wasn't being taken care of. And when I say taken care of, we weren't taking care of ourselves here before we sent a lot of that money out nationally. So I started an organization that really centered around our valley itself, whether it be through conversations, meeting people. I have a lot of creation ideas that I'm doing to get revenue generated. The easiest way for me to put it is it's a for-profit business with a non-profit belief system. So I want it for-profit because I'm not a big fan of having money coming in. Like you have those situations where you have fundraisers and you're like, I need to raise $10,000 for this and let's just get it done, and everybody gets behind it and everybody's a go-go, and then next year I need $10,000, and we're repeating that versus having that, I need $10,000 for this, now I'm going to invest that money in this, and now we're going to allow it to build its own revenue stream so that it can continually give back. And then so if I come to you asking for money, I'm asking for money, and I'm going to show you where that money's going, and I'm going to show you that that money's continually working. It's not working for this year. Hopefully for the future tense, it's working for decades to come. So that's literally the long and short of that company in itself. Then I have a t-shirt company, and I started, same reason, because I needed someone to help me get t-shirts in, and I needed it done faster.
Do you have time to do all that? Your family, you're sitting here with us now. How do you have the time?
I don't have the time. I have had to teach myself how to manage my time and what's important. My boys are homeschooled, so you have that on top of the business life. And what I found is instead of doing their homeschooling here, my business is here, my community involvement here, I just bring them into every aspect of it, So my boys know my business as well as I do. They help me with the gym, they teach, they push themselves as hard as I push myself because I'm setting that example, and they chose to follow me with it. As far as schooling, not every day is a good day. Sometimes we trip over one another. Sometimes I fail. And then I have to remind myself that I'm only one person. And then I get up and I try again the next day. And we see if I can make myself better than I was the day previous.
Were you lucky enough to have that growing up? Did you have black business owners around you teaching you and showing you how to go out and accomplish your dreams?
Yes, 100%. In my family, outside of my family. Now, the better question is, did I actually see it? And that answer is no. Not for a long time did I realize what I had going for me or those role models that I had in front of me. My dad is a martial artist, has been a martial artist as long as I can remember. And he would train with men that were business owners and heads of companies, black men, like suits and ties, and I don't think I ever saw it. And just to give you a little backstory, my dad has an elementary education at this point. So, he hadn't even had a middle school education. And now he has a college degree. And I truly believe it's because of the company he kept. These businessmen brought him up, not kept him down, which was an important part. But I never saw that or put that together until I was an adult, well into my adult years.
How long have you been in the Valley?
I've been in the Valley more than 20 years.
Is there, if I'm not mistaken, did I hear that we did some time in the military?
I did.
How many years, what branch? Give me that little rundown.
United States Army. I was a Cav Scout. Combat arms. I've been a little here and there with that. And then I was also secondary MOS, 68 Whiskey, which is a medic. I loved my time in the military. I also hated my time in the military because I learned discipline, and learning discipline means you fell on your face more times than not in order to understand what it was. So I was that person that learned the lesson the hard way, time and time again.
And being probably one of the few black people there, do you have any challenges with that? Was it welcoming? Was it open? How was that? How was being black in a MOS with not a lot of black people?
My wife has this belief system that I see things through the lens of myself. So I see things from my experiences, not from other people's. And my experiences were the things that got in my way were not the color of my skin, but my mouth and my inability to shut it. So I'd get myself in more trouble by the things that came out of my mouth than by the color of my skin. I have a true belief. You can spend the first couple of seconds thinking you're not going to like me because of the color of my skin, but in the end, if you don't like me, it's because I'm an asshole, not because of what you see to begin with. I just need a few seconds with you, and then we'll realize whether we can have a relationship or not. So, as far as the military goes, I had some really amazing people that stood up for me. One of my sergeants was a brother, and he took care of me. He made sure that I learned how to shut my mouth when it was necessary and how to speak up when it was also necessary for those people that looked at me I don't want to say the wrong way, but those people that didn't see the real me.
What drove you? What led you to be an entrepreneur?
What led me to be an entrepreneur? I don't necessarily think the name really encapsulates what it is people like me look at when we're doing it. It's just easier to go at my own speed. There's a certain point to where you make people money and then you only take pennies out of it before you realize, well, if I do it myself, I can just keep it for myself. So, and then also there's the other aspect of it is where my vision is going to be different in a lot of ways from other people's visions. So I just chose to go at it alone.
Any challenges as being a black man, starting and running your businesses?
What challenges I've had as a black man starting and running businesses? I can't really say that I have had any from the standpoint of the question itself. And the reason why I say that is because when I look at a problem, I look at it as how to solve it. I don't look at it as what's holding me back, kind of a deal. So case in point, I have several people that have their belief systems about themselves and separation of races and, or, you know, like whatever the case may be. The children train under me. You know, they can have an issue with me, they can have issue with my race, but for some reason they tend to separate me from that, even if they do. So then all of a sudden, it's not Daryl the black man. It's, hey, Daryl, he's so much different than so many of these other ones, you know, and I'll take that. And I would prefer that, because at that point, now I have an avenue for us to actually have a conversation. And then you can realize, just like myself, there are others. Treat us as individuals. Don't use whatever movie magic that you have seen in Harlem, because some of us don't come from it, you know, and then you don't really know the people from Harlem, you know. So I look at it as a start of a conversation than anything else. Now, to be honest with you, me as a martial artist, that's more of a hindrance for me in some circles that I run in, because it just annoys me. I'm a businessman. So my job is to make money so I can take care of my family. My job is to make money so that I can actually be a positive member of our community. And a lot of times I go into chamber meetings or Rotary events, and they're like, hey, and they're introducing me, and they have nothing but the best intentions in mind, but they talk about a physical prowess. You know, you better be nice to me because Daryl. I'm like, I'm not going to do anything but look at you when they come at you. I'm here to talk to you about business and make contacts. I'm not here to do martial arts. You want martial arts? Come see me at my studio. You know.
Who were you raised with, or who were you raised by?
So, who was I raised by? I really am not prepared for that question. And the reason why I say that is because as soon as you said it, I realized I had my mom with me my entire life, my father with me the entirety of my life, but I also had cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my dad. We don't really talk. Outside of, he sends me a text every single day with a Bible verse and checks in and loves every single thing that I post on social media, but that is our relationship. Whereas I have a cousin, Angie, who will call me and tell me how wonderful whatever it is that I did, and make sure I take care of this. You know, she's always been that one in the back of my head that, like, if I'm going to do it, then I'd better do it correct, and I better not have any excuses if I fall on my face. You know, that complete ownership piece. So when we talk about who raised me, I had a full community, like, you know, like my cousins, my family, friends. I was blessed that way.
Some role models growing up. Who were we looking up to growing up? Who do we want to be like growing up? Who do we have? Who was our role models?
Let me see. My role models, as I saw it back then, American Ninja, that white dude that was kicking everybody's butt, Bruce Lee, and so on and so forth. Reflecting as an adult, Martin Luther King. And it's really weird because I'm not saying that because of the whole process of the piece, but I resonated with the man and his understanding that it's not setting yourself apart that's important. It's actually us working together. And that part is literally the essence of how my dad raised me. You know, he never had his white friends or his black friends. He just had everyone that he wanted to know. And I felt like he knew everyone. And I want to emulate him. So I wanted to know everyone. And in turn, what ended up happening is I started figuring out that the role models that I had were those people that started being added to my circle. They had these skill sets that I wanted, you know, or they had these attributes that I coveted. And so I just asked them, teach me why it is you are the way you are, or teach me how you got what you have. You know, I want to be rich. And then finding out rich is a very broad term. You know, it's not necessarily about the money that you have in your pocket. It's more about that sense of peace that you have and the ability. I'm filthy rich. I have the ability to have a business, work a business, and still have my kids here with me. I can pay my bills, you know, and I can go home at night, and I have a home to go to. I had to I had to understand, and it took years to understand the fact that who I am really affects who wants to be around me. And there's a wealth that's built from that, and security as well. Being open and willing to talk. When all the controversy jumped up about the police violence and everything, I took a stand that was not a very popular one. And it was a really scary one. I didn't say I'm 100% pro-police. I didn't say I'm 100% against police. What I said was I don't live in the areas that these things are happening on the level that they're happening. I live in a community that's amazing. We have our faults, we have our issues here, but if we vilify these men and women that put this uniform on and put them in the same tenor as those that are in these larger cities that we're talking about, they're not going to want to stay, not the good ones at least. And then we're left in an even scarier situation. Right now, I am blessed, and I truly am. I am blessed that when I see a police officer in a parking lot and I wave him down, that he doesn't look at me cross-eyed. He looks at me with interest. Hey, can I do something for you? I just want to introduce myself. And again, that's not a comfort zone for me. But what I'm met with is how I know I'm doing the right thing. Because I tell them that I appreciate them driving by, because just their driving by does a lot to change who walks through here. Inviting them in. I had one officer, Josh, that came in, and he did my tiny tigers were in here, and he just loved on them and talked to them. And of course, the one question that I feel like everyone always asks, and it was one of my 5-year-olds, was, hey, have you killed anybody? And he goes, honestly, I have never had to discharge my gun in the 20-something years or whatever that he was on the force. And he goes, and I try not to. He goes, I look at my job as one that I'm trying to keep the peace. So if there's problems, I get to help you work them out. I know that is not the fact for all police officers. But I also know that if we look at all police officers as villains, we're never going to get anywhere. My thing is, if I approach it in a positive manner, hopefully I'll get something close to positive out of it. And case in point, I got to meet our former police chief for Medford off of my Facebook post. One of my posts, and he just messaged me and asked, hey, could we sit and have coffee? You know, and I was thinking a little while later after that meeting, because I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? This man's gonna get me arrested at this coffee. So I go there like nervous as all hell, because why would someone that important want to talk to me? And he wanted to know why it was that I didn't hate police as a whole. And I told him I couldn't. I have family, I have friends that are officers. Just because they put the uniform on doesn't mean they just became evil. You know, and we agreed on a lot, and we disagreed on a lot more, you know. But then I also learned between speaking with him, and then making my friends with the Central Point PD, and sitting down with the police chief there, we're just people. The police chief of Central Point, Chris, is actually a student of mine. And I told her when I was sitting in her office that this is not the best place for me to be. I'm not in my comfort zone. This is just not calm for me. And she talked to me, and we were laughing about it. But I learned a lot about her and police officer as a whole on the side that I'd never even thought about. Because I told her, I was like, listen, all I see on my Facebook feeds are police abusing their authority constantly. People possibly dying, getting hurt, all these things. And she said something I didn't expect her to say. She goes, guess what I see? I see police being shot. I see police being killed, just stopping someone for a traffic stop, going up to a door for a health and welfare because someone called worried about someone. And she made me see that what media, social media as a whole shows us is what we want to see. You know, what affects emotion in us. And that was two different sides being seen. My side of the danger and the fears, and her side of what's going on. One of the things that were said to me that really still sits with me is the fact that we have so much ground to cover. And it was said, you know, Scott said, he goes, the reason, because I asked him, I said, why is it I don't have more of your officers coming into my business unannounced? Just to say hi. I work with kids, I work with adults, and do you not know how much further that would go to building a bridge and a rift that we have community-wide? And other business, and likewise, not just mine. Mine's more important, but, you know, like everybody's as a whole. But his answer to that was it was dangerous for his officers. And that hurt my feelings a lot. And I'm like, well, the whole premise of who you are is supposed to be making the community safe. And in my standpoint, they can't be scared of you to feel safe. Fear does not equate with safety. And he's trying to protect his officers, and things getting so bad, it's almost as if we're separating each other as we go along. He's trying to protect his men and women in uniform, and I'm trying to protect myself because I have a fear of here. So there's going to be a lot that has to happen differently. Officers are going to have to be trusted to come into businesses and talk to people and just be who they are. And then likewise, we have to be open to that happening. More times than not in this town, I have friends that own businesses all the way through. Ace has a place over here, and he has officers in his gym, but they've asked him not to say that they're, let the people know that they're officers. We're just people. And I don't think that's fair. Everybody has to don a uniform. This is just a uniform. I use it for training. I don't wear it outside of here. It fits the work that I do, nothing more, nothing less. And I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice not having these conversations, or just having them when some major event happens. We just need to, when everything's calm, just talk. When everything's up in arms, still just talk.